Is 100 quant good enough for me? Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I can only speak on my behalf, I would arguably say yes, 100 quant is good enough for me because the way you take a look at it is that if, let's say, quant were to go to the price of $5,000 during this board, which is my price target for it, at that point, 100 quant would be worth $500,000. That's kind of crazy to think about, actually. Now, let's say we tone things down if people think that $5,000 is a little bit too crazy. Let's say $2,500. Even at that point, that's 250 grand. Now, people may be thinking, okay, look at the prices of homes as of right now. You can't really do much. But personally, for me, I know certain individuals who have less than $50,000 and they use that to travel all around the world for a couple of years. Now they weren't living a fancy lifestyle and they weren't really, going to five-star hotels or anything like that. But still, they were able to travel and still meet new people and have a good experience. So the way you take a look at it is that it still doesn't seem that bad in my opinion. And keep in mind, many people that I know out there, they don't only just hold quant, right? Many of them, they have it as either one of their foundational pieces in their portfolio or they just have it as one of their components. So if let's say, hypothetically, I have 100 quant in my portfolio along with a bunch of other cryptocurrencies, and let's say quant were to go to the price of $5,000, that 100 quant hypothetically becoming $500,000, it wouldn't seem really bad at all. I think that, if anything, would hypothetically be very amazing for me, considering if, let's say, it's just one of my pieces in my portfolio. So again, I'm very bullish on something like quant because the way you take a look at it is that quant is going to be a big narrative. Because when people seem to think that $5,000 is impossible, the way you take a look at it is that quant has very revolutionary fundamentals. Even though the price isn't really showcasing that, I do believe that it's very amazing because if we take a look at what is very special about quant, that's the quant network. And there's two main components when it comes to this. The first being the Overledger network and something else called the Overledger OS. Now let's first talk about the Overledger OS. The amazing thing about this is the fact that through this, something called a multi-chain application could be built. Now, why is this amazing? It's because nowadays, a lot of applications, they're only just built on just one blockchain, which it's been working for quite a while and it's going to continue to work moving forward. But it doesn't mean that it can't be improved because if, let's say, I'm a developer and I'm only building on just one blockchain, inherently, even though there's going to be some advantages, naturally, there's going to be some disadvantages too. There's no quote unquote perfect, blockchain, I would say, right? Arguably as of right now. So what is a way to kind of remedy that? And that is through, again, the Overledger OS through multi-chain applications, because through that, let's say I'm an enterprise, I can build an application that is built on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one. So that way, I'm not going to be just beholden to just one blockchain and have to deal with its disadvantages. Like, let's say, for instance, I want something that is fast, but at the same time, I want something that's secure. I can do that through the Overledger OS because let's say through that, I can build an application that takes advantage of, let's say, the security of the Bitcoin blockchain, which we all know is very secure, it's very reliable, it's been proven for many years. However, on the flip side, people would argue that, hey, it's not that fast. So what is a way to supplement that? That's through the Stellar blockchain. Stellar, we all know, is very amazing, lightning fast blockchain. Of course, a lot of people know XLM. So the way to take a look at it is that through multi-chain applications, it's very revolutionary. Now, something like this is going to take quite a while to really experience mass-scale adoption. But the way you take a look at it is that during a fully fledged bull run, people typically don't really care about that. They care more so about the story. They care more so about the narrative. And I think this really does fit in line. And I think as the years do go by, I think eventually many developers are going to gravitate towards something like this because, again, why would they want to be stuck building on only just one blockchain if there's other options, right? If there's no other options, I get it. But then if there's better options, why not? That's just my mentality. Now, even though, that's about the Overledger OS, I now want to talk about the Overledger network. Now, this is made up of the Overledger OS users. And through this, these Overledger OS users can share their data, their apps, their resources, and monetize them. So again, if you take a look at the Quant network, arguably, I would say that it's actually very fantastic. And even though it's kind of simple in nature, the way I view it is that it's just very rock solid and it's very useful. Quant isn't this fun or interesting or, kind of, I would say, niche project, like let's say certain meme coins. It's not like that. It's a very useful one, I think, foundationally, it's very fantastic. So sometimes people would argue that, hey, it's a little bit boring. But the way you take a look at it is that it's not boring. And I do like it. I think it's very fantastic. And when I consider just how game-changing it is, really, $5,000, why is that too much to ask for? Keep in mind, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $60 billion, which really isn't that bad. I mean, take a look at Dogecoin. Years ago, back in 2021, reached over $80 billion in market cap. Now, keep in mind, though, $5,000 is around a 73x from here. So some people, again, may think it's a little bit crazy, but again, the market cap wouldn't be too insane at that point. Not to mention, when Dogecoin was doing that back in 2021, if we take a look at the numbers, it does indicate that during the peak of the 2021 bull run, at that time, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. However, you fast forward to today, according to Crypto.com research, there's over 600 million. So I think this bull run, again, even despite the pullback, even despite the market just overall not doing the best in terms of the sentiment, I'm totally aware of that. But when there's that many crypto owners, I just feel like the upcoming hypothetical peak of this bull run could just be a lot more fantastic than what we saw years ago back in 2021. Not to mention, Quant is actually very rare. This is very subjective, of course, but of course, the main benchmark that many people use when it comes to rarity, when it comes to projects, is Bitcoin, right? They say, hey, maximum supply is 21 million, is very rare. And I'm totally aware that it is very rare. But if you take a look at Quant, it just takes things to a whole nother level because its maximum supply, depending on the site or exchange, it's around either give or take 14.5 million. In this case, it's around 14.8 million. But again, tomato, it just really depends on the site or exchange, arguably in some cases. But even besides that, that's very rare. Even if we removed 6 million Bitcoin from the maximum supply of it, that's still not even the maximum supply of Quant, given, let's say, it's around 14.8 million, or even some other cases around 14.5 million. Again, still way lower in the case of Quant when compared to Bitcoin, even if we remove, let's say, like 6 million Bitcoin from the maximum supply for whatever reason. So the way I view it is that, again, even though Quant will never beat Bitcoin, it's never going to be as popular. So again, of course, rarity is very subjective. But again, I think that really, if anything, puts into perspective that, hey, Quant has a good use case and the supply is actually, relatively speaking, very low. So again, when I take a look at something like this, I don't view it as a bad thing. The way I view it is that Quant is this very unique project. And I think this one could be very amazing because usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. Now, again, granted, because of the market sentiment, because of what's going on in the economy in general, because of that, many people may think that, okay, things could happen later, or, it can maybe happen, let's say, as a worst case scenario in the beginning of 2026. Whatever the case may be, I'm still going to be dollar cost averaging into Quant anyway, so it wouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm focused on accumulation over an extended period of time. So again, if let's say the bull run may be a little bit prolonged in terms of when it could really peak, you know what? It's fine. I'll accumulate more because 100 Quant, for me at least, it doesn't seem too bad. And $5,000, that's my price target for Quant during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. Greatly appreciated. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.